from today's TMJ4.
This is breaking news now on your side.
And that breaking news now, we're going to be talking about this fire down in Racine County. We have an update coming from officials as we speak.
Mayor Bob Miller is speaking right now. Let's listen in.
Call for service. As of last night, it was an 8-alarm fire. More than 88 agencies from throughout southeastern Wisconsin and northern Illinois have responded to that Mavis call. Racine Hazardous Materials Unit is on scene, was on scene through most of the fire, monitoring air quality to ensure that there was no contaminants released from the fire. Police department last night evacuated 10 homes in an apartment building. A total of about 50 people were displaced because of a possible fear of ammonia leak. That leak was contained. It never did occur. Those people have now been allowed to return to their homes. Echo Lake Produce manufactures and sells bulk egg products, as well as waffles and a few other items. The plant's approximately 70,000 square feet in size, employs about 300 people altogether. Company officials have asked us to advise that their employees are not to report today, that they'll be contacted by the company in the next couple of days as to what they are to do. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. Wisconsin State Fire Marshal and the Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco and Firearms will also be assisting in that investigation. That's kind of an update as to where we were at 5 o'clock this morning. As of now, the fire at Echo Lake Produce has been contained, and the fire department is working on hot spots as we speak. The fire department has been releasing departments to return back to their home departments. The amount of fire department personnel that are currently on the scene is greatly reduced from last night, as they're just mopping up now and cleaning up the hot spots that are still occurring throughout the site. Fire investigation is just now starting. There are no updates as to the amount of damages or to a cause of the fire. Those will become clearer as we go into this investigation now to determine a cause and assess damages for what happened. I can tell you that from the city water system side, we pumped 2 million gallons of water onto this fire. In addition to that, probably another ballpark, let's say 500,000 or to 1 million gallons of water come out of Echo Lake to also fight this fire. We've been in contact with Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. We've been in contact with Racine County Economic Development Corporation and with the company officials. The city will be meeting with company officials and those two other organizations to assist them any way we can to help get their site cleaned up, the plant rebuilt and reopened as soon as possible. As far as the workers are concerned, on Wednesday between 10 and 3 in this building, we'll have the State of Wisconsin Unemployment Compensation Bureau here. We'll have Racine Workforce Development people here to assist them in this transition between employment and unemployment on a temporary basis. I have with me my city administrator, Kevin Lehner, and my fire chief, Dick Lodel, and we'll answer whatever questions we can for you at this time.
No, Mayor Miller, I think the biggest question, and you touched on it, is will they rebuild and will these jobs stay in Burlington?
That decision has not been made yet by the company.
Have they said if they want to?
We have not gotten to that point in discussions with them. My guess would be yes, they do, but it's a guess.
Do you want them to?
Definitely. No doubt about it. 300 jobs, yeah.
Chief, could you describe, as best you can, what it looks like inside and what conditions would have to be rebuilt?
The area where the extensive fire damage has occurred would be in the manufacturing area, where the eggs are broken and then separated into the products. Much of the building to the north has sustained no fire damage, but the production area is where the heaviest damage is. That's an area where if you look at it, you really don't see a lot of fire, but it's hot underneath. It is burning underneath. At this time, we have a high hole in there, and we're actually going in and digging out some of this material, and then with aerial ladder devices, spraying water on it to extinguish those small areas. The fire is essentially out at this point except for those hot spots. And that process may go on for many hours till we eventually get that fully taken care of. Basically, no. Ladder trucks, engines. Racine Hazmat, as the mayor said, was there to monitor air quality. Significant number of command individuals. But really nothing beyond that that you would not normally have at a large industrial type of fire. Well, I think it was a little cold last night, but it went well. It could have been a lot worse. Water supply was good. The amount of equipment that there was good, and it was just one of these things where we were going to be there for a long time.
You said it's several hours yet for the hot spots. Do you know an estimate by the end of today, by tomorrow morning?
It's hard to tell. We're digging in the back and we're putting water on them as we expose them.
And the ammonia tanks you talked about, are those the 4 massive tanks on the south side of the plant?
Well, they have a system in there, and there were no breach of any ammonia from their system.
What's the story that you're hearing from the workers who were inside at the time about what they tried to do first and at what point they decided to call you? And
I have no idea to that. When we were called and received the alarm, when we had our first engine there and I was shortly behind it, there was fire coming from the south side of the building. At this point, I have not talked to any employees or anybody that was there at that time, so I really can't answer that.
Chief, when you're dealing with such a massive fire, what are some of your concerns with your firefighters as they approach this type of blaze?
Well, one of the things obviously is the weather, that we rotate crews so that in the cold weather, crews stay fresh. We pretty much went to a MABUS multiple box alarm right away to the 5th level, if that means anything to anybody, to bring in a lot of resources at that time. It was a defensive operation from the beginning. We weren't able to send anybody inside. We were not going to do an interior attack. So it was defensive right from the beginning.
Is this the largest fire in Burlington?
Probably in recent history, as far as manpower and so on. We have no idea the damage estimate yet. So.
Chief, do you know how many people, there are 300 people that work there, but do you know how many people are actually working at the factory?
I don't have an exact number. We do know that they were all evacuated. They were in second shift production, was my understanding. They were working at that time. How many were there, I do not know.
About what time would you say it actually became under control? I mean, we're just finding out now at noon, but I mean, as in it happened, in the past few hours.
Yeah, probably within the past 2 hours, 2-3 hours, to where we got down to hot spots, and then we have started to release significant amounts of equipment at this time to return to their home stations.
It sounds like people were evacuated because was the only reason the concern about these ammonia tanks?
Well, I think evacuation was because of the fire inside, and there was fire coming from the building when we arrived, and obviously the prudent thing to do was to get out. And they had evacuated their people. They had counts from the various departments that they could account for their people, that everybody in these areas were out.
Was it just an air quality concern, or was it literally a concern of, more explosions and it reaching these homes?
As far as evacuating the homes, the concern there was a release of ammonia, which never did occur. And again, we wanted to be proactive rather than reactive, not wait until something happened.
So there was never a danger of the fire reaching the new line?
No, no.
Can somebody tell me how significant this company in Burlington?
That would be the mayor's call.
Echo Lake Produce, or Echo Lake Farm Products, is one of the larger employers of the city. There will be an impact economically to the city, obviously. We're talking 300 workers who are now without a job, with no future employment, so to speak, as of today on the horizon for them. So that will be an economic impact. In addition to that impact, there will be an impact to the suppliers of the company and also an impact to the companies that they deliver their product to. So it's tough to put a dollar figure on that, other than to say that, yes, there will be a significant impact to the city, one that we will weather and get through.
I read that it was owned by a family, is it still family owned?
It's still family owned. This is one of several plants that this family owns, all making the same type of product.
This may be a question for the chief. I understand there was a church right next to the plant that acted actually as a warming shelter on their own accord for many of the firefighters. Could you speak to how they may have helped the operation?
I can't really speak directly. I know they did open up there, that people could go there. One of the things that we tried to discourage people from is if they go in and they're wet and they get warm, when they come out, they're going to be worse. What we typically did was when we rotated crews, we sent them home. We brought them in, we worked them for a period of time, and then when we rotated crews, we sent those departments back home, brought in fresh crews, rather than working people, bringing them inside, trying to warm them up, and then bring them back outside again.
Does it help at all, though, to have a building like that and a group willing to do that kind of thing?
Oh, definitely. And I can't say for sure who might have been there, what resources might have been there. But I know they did open up.
Can you explain for people, is there anything in this plant, in the nature of what they do, that would be a fire hazard or fire risk? Can you explain that to people?
That I really don't know, because I don't have any idea at this point what caused it. We don't even have an exact area of origin yet. So those are things to be answered down the road.
Who will be investigating? Sheriff's Department or?
We have, it's called the Racine County Fire Investigation Task Force, which is made up of individuals from fire departments, law enforcement agencies, the DA's office. That group will be the initial group, and we will also bring in other higher level resources to investigate. Obviously, I would assume also in most cases their insurance company will bring in an investigator.
Who called you guys? Was it employees, or was there an explosion and residents called, or who initially called 911?
That I don't know. All I know is that we had received a call for a fire at Echo Lake Produce.
At this early stage, is there any indication that there was any kind of delay for whatever reason in dialing 911?
Not to my knowledge. My knowledge, when it was called, it was toned out.
How many people were working in that shift, did you say?
I have no idea. I know they were in second shift production. The exact number that were there, I don't know.
And Chief, how many firefighters? You said 88 department, roughly 88 departments. Do you know roughly about how many firefighters?
Probably, in a rough guess, well over 300.
You had mentioned that there's going to be employment benefits people here on Wednesday.
Correct.
And that'll be just to get, they'll still be paid, these people, these employees that come people to work?
I have no idea what the company policy is for these employees. We have taken a step, the city, county executive Jim Ladwick, if he's still here, we've sat down with him, and he's bringing in his people from workforce development, and they're organizing to get in the Unemployment Bureau out of the state to help those workers start the process as soon as possible to make sure they do qualify for unemployment and get them signed up as soon as we possibly can.
Okay, so then this, where the fire was, this production area, but how big is this space and how big is the space where the fire was?
The plant itself is about 70,000 square feet. The area affected is about
25,000. The significance of that, however, is that where the fire was in the production area.
Which is the main part of what they do.
Yes, and some of the warehousing in that area, the positive news there is that the fire did not extend there. We were able to keep it out of that area, but that is not the production area. So it isn't like they lost warehousing or shipping and still had production. They don't have production at this point.
So it sounds like the facility could potentially be rebuilt at this site.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, obviously the production area building is severely damaged, and it could be rebuilt, and the existing warehousing space and loading docks and stuff could remain as they are, so to speak, with the new building rebuilt to replace production.
Chief, has anyone toured the rest of the facility to find out how it held up in the fire, if it had any smoke damage, for instance, or any other structure issues?
As far as which part of the building?
I understand it's a pretty massive complex, and so really looking around at any more of it to see if there's any other issues or any other damage.
The extent of the damage would be on the south end of the building. That's the production area. That's where the damage is. To the north is warehouse and other types, and the fire did not extend to that area. We were able to keep that out of there. There are some interior firewalls and fire doors that helped with that.
So smoke is well known, not an issue with the other areas?
There may be some smoke in there, but in my opinion, that would be minor.
Any other questions? Mayor, could you go a little bit more in depth in terms of the impact on the community? I mean, I assume that some of these suppliers include many farmers out there that may have been impacted by that golden Guernsey area.
I couldn't tell you where their suppliers are from. I do know that they do quite a bit of truck traffic in deliveries and also receiving the raw material that travel through the city to the plant and then back out again once it's processed. We'd have to go back to the company to find a list of suppliers and who might be affected that way.
Have you had personal contact with the owners?
I have had contact with the plant manager.
And what's he saying? Can you tell?
He's devastated, as well as the family is, at this point in time, because they haven't had a chance as a company to get back and see what they have. It's still so fresh and so new that, no, we haven't gotten to that point yet.
Is it possible that some of the activities of this plant could be shifted to other facilities owned by?
Again, that'd be a question for them. I don't have that answer for you. If there's nothing further, I would like to turn around at this point in time, first off, and thank the news media for being patient with us, for not driving us up a tree too much and helping us get through this process, and we tried to keep you informed as best we could. To the fire departments involved that responded and sent people, thank you very much. Burlington's kind of unique in the standpoint that we have an outpouring from our local restaurants, our local people, who have supplied a tremendous amount of food to the firefighters to keep them sustained throughout this whole event. I will not be calling on the press conference reference as fire. We'll be releasing stuff through the city's website as it becomes available and more information is put online that way. If you wish to stay in touch, feel free to call my office. We can stay in touch that way, and I'll keep you informed as the information rolls in to me. I'll make sure it's available on the city's website as well as available to my office staff. If there's no further questions, thank you all very much.
And that was Mayor Bob Miller, the city of Burlington, speaking right there. He said that the fire has now been contained. It had burned for more than 12 hours. There are still some hot spots, but at least the fire is now contained.
And the important part for people who were evacuated last night, apparently they are being allowed to be back into the neighborhood and into their homes. They're still searching for a cause for that fire, but as the mayor indicated, look, the most important thing they've been dealing with in the last 12 plus hours has been getting this thing put out, getting people back in their homes, and there'll be time to investigate and look at the future of this company coming up.
It is now 12:17. We'll have your full Storm Team forecast coming up next.